Hey, hope you're having a great afternoon. My name is Frank Gallo, 20-year radio pro all over the country. And it's time to have a... So let's see what we're going to talk about today. Did we go a little crazy on the coffee? That's a pretty good question from the internet. Personally, I think coffee has evolved. Yeah, we kind of did. I remember working in my father's deli and the coffee was about 55 cents with your sandwich. Sometimes it was free with your sandwich. Now it's $6.50 and you have to be dressed a certain way and have a certain type of etiquette when you go into a coffee house. I mean, coffee is completely different. A barista, which personally I have no idea what that was, over the last 10 years has become a career for some people. People are very proud of the type of coffee they make. So yes, I think coffee has gotten a little crazy. Of course, here in Austin, there are a ton of coffee houses, all with different themes. Some of them serve alcohol after 5 p.m. Some of them just close at 2 o'clock because they're making a ton of money on coffee and they don't need to open the entire day, which is mind-boggling to me. Regular coffee is gone. You always want to have something in your coffee nowadays. And I think it's kind of odd for someone that grew up with regular coffee. Now, if you excuse me, I have my chai latte being delivered through Uber Eats, and the guy just knocked on the door. Okay, let's see what we're going to talk about next. How was it working in a butcher shop in the 80s in the Bronx? One word, traumatic. I was 14 years old. It was one of my first jobs that I ever had. Working in a butcher shop shouldn't really be that big of a deal. I mean, there's meat there, you're doing deliveries. Sometimes you're cutting up the meat, but for someone like me, 14 years old, you really can't touch any of the machinery. There are laws against that. There were no laws. I was cutting up brisket. I was cutting up steaks, oxtails. It was a very Caribbean area in the Bronx, so there were a lot of oxtails and goat meat. And, of course, the two guys that were running the shop were pretty interesting characters. I think I learned my sex education there, not in a high school. One of the butchers was hitting all the either the single moms that were coming in or even the married moms. There were a lot of situations where I came in a little bit late and he's in the back with some married lady who just decided to show up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. When I was making deliveries, there was a delivery kid that was pretty much doing the same thing around the entire 4-block radius. He had like 4 or 5 girlfriends. I would go to deliver a meat delivery and have to wait outside because he would go in, take care of business, deliver his meat, and leave. You know, get a kiss and then leave, pretty much. Of course, I didn't get any of the action. I was only 14. But very traumatic, and it was kind of one of those situations where you tell your parents about what happened, they don't believe you, they think that you're making everything up, and that was kind of one of those types of situations. So you kind of look at things that happened to you when you were a child, and they make you who you are today. That was one of them. Working in a butcher shop, it took me a while to eat steak after that. Okay, let's see what we got next. Do people in Texas love beer? Yes. But it's not what you think. Coming from the craft beer world, I've worked for a number of different breweries. I'm pretty privy to the types of styles, and there's certain styles that I like of IPAs or Kolsch's or Pilsners. People in Texas are starting to learn about that. It's still cool to like IPAs in Texas, whereas from the East Coast, I mean, IPAs came out about 12 years ago. But here, they're kind of a new thing. Now, of course, most Texans, I've noticed, like their good old Bud Light or their Busch Light. Busch Light's a pretty big deal. Lone Star beer. The Mexicans down here are straight up Dos Equis. Dos Equis or Modelo. You know, personally, I thought Corona would be huge here. I like to drink Corona, but apparently not. That is one of the last beers that people drink down here. It's definitely Dos Equis Lager or Amber or Modelo. So, and people like to drink beer down here. So we're talking about volume. I mean, we're talking about bad driving and probably a lot of drunk driving going on down here. But they're still learning about craft beer, and there's a lot of things to learn about craft beer down here because there are a ton of breweries here. There's a place probably about, 20 miles west, in a place called Dripping Springs, Ghost Note Brewery. There's a million breweries there. There's also a million wineries. There's a million breweries in Austin. So while it seems like people in Austin would be hip to what's going on the East Coast or the West Coast as far as beer is concerned, your average Joe is just learning. But I think at some point they're going to be caught up because of the amount of breweries here. Also, the knowledgeable, beer pickup line needs to be adjusted here. If you want to talk about IPAs, that's still kind of interesting. But if you're talking about things like, I'd like a Michelada, which on the East Coast, people think that you're kind of cool for ordering something like that. That's a way of life here. Anything Mexican that involves tequila or spice or Modelo or anything like that, they're kind of like, all right, here's this tourist trying to be cool. Learned that pretty quickly once I got here.